Yo, what is up, Kings? Let's talk about the Hans with the T at the front situation in the Olympics. I know there is a ton of uproar because some people have allowed their brains to leave the preoccupation of this quote-unquote issue. They have allowed it to drift out of their minds. Now, mind you, in a previous video I did, the research that I saw on it said that any biological man that, I think it said any biological man that has gone through full puberty essentially has been able to become a fully functioning male adult, and transitions can no longer compete in world competitions. I thought that this was applicable to the Olympics, and who knows, maybe some of these individuals are individuals that were able to certify that they went through the process before they became a full-fledged male adult. Now, I guarantee you, even that definition is going to become dicey, whether it's applicable to the Olympics or not. Eventually, it's gonna the lines are going to be blurred regarding what is an adult. What is an adult for the World Competition Organization or whatever it's called. I don't know exactly what it's called, but essentially the committee of world competitions. Is it decided by each country, the adult age for each country? Hell, even I'm not even sure in America that it's the same across the board. It might be 18 across the board. I think it is, actually. The age of consent laws are not, but the laws of adulthood, I think across the board are 18, maybe 17 in some states, although I'm not for sure. I'd have to look that up, but I can almost guarantee that eventually even those lines are going to be blurred. But as far as the Olympics go, regardless of what I saw and researched, there's been a few examples already of Hans being able to compete, especially in physical combat sports. And I got to tell you guys, I'm not surprised. There is definitely some outrage on the conservative, or well, the right-wing side of the media, okay? But it is not a surprise, honestly. It's not. Everybody who was being honest with themselves knew that this was coming. And I did a video a while back discussing why, personally, I don't really care about this issue. And I will specifically the issue of having outrage for biological men being able to compete against women and being outraged by it enough to change it and thus protect biological women in this pursuit. But this is not surprising. In fact, guys, I played Division I water polo. I know how competitive, when you get to some of these levels, the highest levels one can go. Okay, to be a collegiate athlete, you have to be a top, I would say 2-3% athlete in the world. Definitely, at the very least, in your country. To play Division I sports, as it encompasses every nation, every athlete from every nation can be recruited to play for each school on scholarship. For example, where I played water polo, we had kids from Spain, we had kids from Hungary, because water polo is huge in Hungary, kids from Serbia. I mean, so to play Division I sports, you have to be a top 1%, damn near a top 5% athlete. The level of competitiveness is through the fucking roof, okay? I have never seen this out in the open level of competitiveness since I left playing Division I water polo. Okay, that is the pinnacle in which I saw it, or I have seen it. So exacerbate this to the Olympics, okay, the most high caliber, the highest level that one can play for most of the sports. I know for soccer it's a little bit different. They do under 23s. But look at Team USA in basketball. They literally have all the top guys, all the top people from each country are competing, okay? Mind you, in basketball, a lot of them, like for example, the South Sudanese team, multiple players on that team are actually lived in America and have American citizenship. So these people are super competitive. You don't think that these people are willing to do what it takes to get on the podium? Man, you are lying to yourself if you think that they're not willing to do that. And especially in some of these other countries that don't have the population that America has, or the money that America has to produce the amount of athletes that America does at a high level. If you don't think and have iffy ethical standards, not that America has good ethical standards either, but if you don't think that these countries are willing to and are currently not willing, and down the line will not be more willing, if that makes sense. So now, if you don't think that they're willing now, and that they won't become even more willing down the line, you are fucking lying to yourselves. These countries, this is going to become even more prominent, where these countries, instead of having and spending money on women to compete in women sports, they are going to, I'm telling you, they are going to start having young boys transition for the sole purposes of having them compete in the Olympics and doing better than they would have if they competed on the biological male side. Okay? So pretty soon the Olympics are going to be dominated by men. Okay? So, but the other aspect to this is, should we feel bad? Should we feel sorry? I understand how the natural inclination, especially from a more traditional, conservative-minded individual, is that of justice, what's right versus what's wrong. And I would agree with you. Do I think, per se, morally, that all things being equal, do I think that morally it's right for biological men to compete against women? Of course not. But then there's the added element of all things are not equal. And in their effort of faux equality, in women's backing and pushing against the very protection that made them safe in the first place, i.e. the patriarchy, they have lost the very thing that they fought for. And what I was getting at in that last those last couple of sentences is that, on the other hand, while morally, all things being equal, no, I don't think it's right. On the other hand, I know how modern women, especially modern Western women, view the situation. And I know that a lot of them are not positive towards men. A lot of them do absolutely take men for granted. A lot of them, a lot of these women, I guarantee you, there's like one specific woman, she's a boxer, she's Italian. I guarantee you, there's at least a 90% chance that she is one of those girls that say, I don't need no man. Anything you can do, I can do better. I can do anything better than you. There's a damn good chance. And so, even if she is not one of those women, there's a damn lot of women who in the West patronize men, absolutely take them for granted, say that they don't need men, that they don't need a man's help, that they're better off without men, that they can just have a sperm donor, that all men are good for is their sperm, and even then they nowadays they don't even necessarily need them because they can just freeze their eggs. Okay? Be that as it may, as diluted as that is what they say. And so, in this modern gynocentric feminist society that we live in within the West, it becomes very difficult to have any desire whatsoever to go along with this outrage and protection of these women. Because in a lot of regards, they asked for this. This is the end result of them being okay with the dismantling of the patriarchy. Okay? The very people that they seek protection from, the very people that they seek support from, are the people that they decided to rid their shackles of. This is the ending point of feminism. Because ultimately, and I've said this in multiple videos. I know I always say that. I need to make a shirt that says, I've said this in multiple videos. But feminism at its core is the destruction of gender norms. It is the destruction of biological proclivities or biological expressions between the sexes. It is the dismantling of you're a male and thus you have these proclivities, these norms that you should adhere to and we should expect you to adhere to. As a woman, you have these proclivities and we should expect you to live out those sex expressions. That feminism attempts to break it down, to deconstruct, and to have it become a situation where men, women, it's all the same. We're interchangeable widgets. It's 50-50, baby. Anything you can do, I can do better. So, this being what it is, it becomes very difficult for somebody like myself to have any sort of outrage with this, because for me, an Orthodox man who does believe in the patriarchy, why would I, outside of like all things being equal, doing the morally right thing, which I guess you can make a case for that, but you can also make the case, and I'm about to, that if you are a traditional man that believes in a patriarchal society, a traditional society, what benefit would you have of fighting against what is currently going on? Because let's just play it out. Let's say that I did or you did fight against it as somebody who's traditional, and women were able to continue to freely compete in sports. I'm not for that. I have no problem with women doing physical activity, but I also don't think that by and large women should be competing in physical activities as men do, because they're not as good. They're not as good. And I don't say that to bring them down or be mean. It's just a fact. And just as there are a handful of things that women tend to be better at than men. But again, within feminism, they don't think that exists, what I just said. They believe that it's interchangeable. You can plug and play a man and a woman. It makes no fucking difference. So why am I going to have this outrage and make things right when really all that's doing is bringing back a society where women are trying to be men? That's the problem. The problem is women trying to be men. That's the problem. Don't you see? That's the problem, as I see it. And I think if you take it to its logical conclusion, a lot of people would have a problem with it too. And so you have one more moral aspect, but then you have another. Isn't it my moral duty that if I believe in a patriarchal society, to do what I deem necessary to bring forth said patriarchal society? If I don't believe that women should be pretending to be men and trying to act like men and doing the same things that men do, and I don't think that men should be doing the same thing that women do, then why am I going to have this outrage? And that's why when I see these conservatives or these right-wing individuals getting all butthurt about the Olympics and making videos and saying how wrong it is, how blasphemous it is, it's like, okay, but let me ask you, sir, or right-wing female thought, okay, are you a feminist? Okay, maybe not. Most of them say they aren't, just like the videos I've done on Sydney Watson, Lauren Chen, Andrew Wilson has exposed this many times. There's the other one who was on, who used to be on InfoWars. I'm blanking on what her name is now. I think it starts with a M. Lily something. Lily Weaver. Okay, so you'd say no, that you're not a feminist. Okay. Do you think women should vote? Do you think that women should be in the workplace? Oh, I see. Oh, yes. You'd likely say yes to that. So no, you are a feminist. No, you do believe in the modern construction that women should be able to do everything that men do. Let's be 100 here. Let's be honest in our framework of worldview. Okay? So when I see them making these types of videos, I'm like, it's so phony. It's such bullshit, because ultimately, you being okay with women being in the workplace, you being okay with women competing in sports, you being okay with essentially women doing everything that men can do and being okay with it, dare I say advocating for it, is what ultimately, what the underlying issue there, the deconstruction of gender norms, is what contributes to men being able to compete against women in the Olympics, as long as they say that they're a woman, because gender identity means nothing. It means nothing. So honestly, I get more upset about these Christian some of them are Christian conservatives, but these right-wing talking pundits who are not consistent and are not being ideologically logical or I already said consistent. They are not taking their worldview to its ending point. And sometimes people do have blind spots in their worldview because they don't like being challenged. I'm okay being challenged with my worldview. And I know what the blind spots are. So you need to consider this when you see all these videos, because at this point, number one, it's not going to do a damn thing, okay? This is unfortunately here to stay. And secondly, on a certain level, honestly, you should be okay with it, because if you're okay with women doing everything that men do, then what the fuck do you care whether men compete against women? What fucking difference does it make? Because the underlying issue is the same. It's the deconstruction of gender norms. Anyways, guys, I might do a part 2 for this and combine the video, so we'll end it right there for now, and perhaps I'll resume. And I do want to make this final point about what we're talking about here. So I do realize that this probably is not like an unnatural, but like a strange concept to grasp, or something that seems contrary, because it is contrary to everything that you have been immersed in within society. But your brain and your God-given nature knows that it's the truth, because especially if you're a Christian, you believe in such a thing as God's order. So let me ask you this. And so I understand that. And on that subject, I got to say, and I'm going to expound upon it even more, is the reason why this is able to persist in the first place is because as conservatives, we kind of have this give and take philosophy. I don't, but a lot of conservatives do. And in the process of maybe giving an ounce or given over a part of the argument, we end up losing most of the argument, because when you are discussing morality and right and wrong and societal standards, it's a or proposition. It's not a and a this and that. It is this or it is that, and that's it. Okay? It's no 25% this, 35% this. And so I say that to illustrate that we have to get out of some of the dichotomies that our brains are stuck in. Because we are losing this fight, and we need to start being willing to consider things that maybe we would be more inclined to be like, I'm not sure. That sounds, in college I heard this. Because the thing is, guys, is we are losing this battle. And they are definitely winning. And so let me ask you guys this. So with regards to what I have said thus far, why do you think it is in the first place that you feel the need to step in and protect women's sports? Why do you think that you, especially if you're a man, why do you think you have that inclination? Well, I'll tell you. Number one, it's within you as a man to want to protect women, but number two, you know instinctually that that women are weaker than men. And once you realize this, it becomes much easier to proceed forward. Once you accept this, you think, okay, well, shit, if women really are weaker than men, and there is a difference between the sexes, and if I'm willing to acknowledge a strength difference between the sexes, well, then there's perhaps other differences too. And that's why feminists always, like hardcore feminists, will even die on the hill. I used to be surprised by this, but they will even die on the hill of women being just as strong as men. Because they know if they give even an ounce, if they even admit one thing that there is a difference between men and women, that it's the beginning of the end for their argumentation. So, and for their worldview. Because again, ultimately their worldview, what it requires is the dismantling of differences between the sexes. So, if you are willing to admit that men are by and large stronger than women, then it all proceeds from there. And then you realize, well, shit, maybe there's more differences. Maybe, just maybe, if women really are the weaker sex, well, maybe, just maybe, we don't even need a female's version or woman's version, whatever, whoever identifies as that, like, version or side of the events. Maybe we don't even need a woman's side of events. Maybe we just need a Olympics, and whoever's the best qualifies, and 9 times out of 10, if it works itself out, it's going to be men. Because if we really were an equal society, as we pretty much were within a patriarchal society, and the best person or the best top 10 athletes at each individual sport were able to proceed forward, it would all be men. And pretty soon, eventually, women would stop competing, because they know that no matter how hard they try, they will not be as fast or as strong as a man. So this is the question that you guys have to ask yourself, and this is what will bring it home regarding the fact that men and women do have differences, and that is okay. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with it whatsoever. And it is the differences that actually make us the best we can possibly be. And this is how society works best. Ultimately, it really is. This is how society has flourished, and how initially the West was this thriving and absolutely prosperous, adventurous society.